Before the break, we stopped at the area adjustments example. I think Ahmad asked some question regarding those areas. I will just explain to him. You know, if it is light hazard occupancies, right, and it is for 139 square meters for the light hazard as for those design density curve, and if that light hazard occupancy is for a dry pipe system, so we have penalties of 30%. So we have to use 180 square meter minimum. How it will work? Let's go design density curve.
Yes, until now it's clear for the extra 30%. But what about credit? I didn't get it.
Credit means we can reduce that one. It means that.
How we can reduce it?
Okay, so if we have high temperature sprinklers, right? So in case of the fire, it will break only some sprinklers is near the fire. The number of sprinklers breaking in case of the high temperature sprinklers and the number of sprinkler breaking in ordinary temperature sprinklers is different. In high temperature sprinkler, only one or two sprinkler will activate and it will control the fire. But if we have low temperature sprinklers, let's say low temperature, maybe more number of sprinklers will activate in case of the fire due to the heat. This is the idea behind the high temperature sprinklers, which call it credit.
Now it's clear.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then we have some example here at the bottom. I think we are at this location before the break, but we can discuss again. If we have extra hazard occupancies of 232 square meters, with the dry system, we have to go for 302, and the dry system with high temperature sprinkler, further we can decrease. So we have multiple adjustment methods we can use that one. This is how it works. Now moving on to some design restriction, right? Minimum density based on hazard occupancies, unsprinkled combustible concealed space, and the concealed areas, right? Areas below 1500 square feet for light hazard and ordinary hazard cannot be used regardless of adjustment. For the density area method, right? They are talking about the density area methods. We cannot go below 1500 square feet for light hazard, or ordinary hazard cannot be used regardless of adjustments. Area below 2500 square feet for extra hazard cannot be used regardless of adjustment, and an area of 3000 square feet cannot be used for those areas regardless of adjustment. What they are trying to say that, you know, if you can going back to this density curve, here we have a minimum we have 1500 square feet, right, with the 0.10 GPM per square feet. So if you are using if you are taking density of around at this location, which is 0.07 GPM per square feet, and we are taking an area of 3000 square feet, right? So at that location, we can uh, do the multiple adjustment. In any case, the multiple adjustment cannot be below 1500 square feet for the light hazard occupancies, and for the ordinary hazard for the extra hazard cannot be below 2500 uh, 2500 adjustment. Normally, you know, no one is going in more detail regarding this adjustment. They just use the minimum 1500 and they do the calculation. But NFPA given some requirement. If you want to use that one, you can use. But most of the time, I have seen, you know, person is going this 1500 into 0.1 for the light hazard occupancies, and they are not coming caring about the high temperature sprinklers, or they are not caring about the uh, with the quick response sprinklers. But the problem arises with the dry pipe system, right? In dry, where we have to add the credit, right? We have to increase the areas. That we have to add that one. You know, we must increase the area to protect our occupancies, right? Uh, like for the slope ceilings and the dry sprinkler system, we must increase 30% to the design area from what we coming from those density curve. Now moving on to the hydraulically remote area, right? So hydraulically remote area is far away from, it's much far distance from the from the pump room, right? So if you can see here, we have a riser, right? Here we have riser and water is getting supply from this location, and they have considered this area is must hydraulically designed areas. This is one set, and for this one here we have a risers, and this one they have used the hydraulically designed area. For this one, this is the must hydraulic design area, and for this one, this is the must hydraulic design areas, right? So this is the must remote area away from the fire protection pump, so that if you can get pressure and flow at this location in correct quantity, our design goal is achieved. Now I'll take you back to the whiteboard to keep in mind, to emphasize some terms like regarding the remote area and the must demanding area, right? So we have the multiple hazard area, right? Let's say this is your this is the office areas, and we have a and production facilities, and we have a extra hazard area. Just wait a moment. Right. Suppose this is our office areas, right? And this is our storage areas, and this is our production facilities, and we have a riser connection at this location. So this area, as for the previous, just wait a moment. So here we have the design area, right? Just wait a moment. So if we are getting water from this side, right, all the way to the complete building, right? So the one you can see at this location, it is looking at the most remote location, right? This is the most remote location. As I said, this is the office area, so it must be light hazard occupancies, right? LS, and this is the storage areas. It might be extra hazard occupancies, and this is the production area. It might be ordinary hazard areas. Now the most remote area cannot be most demanding area in case, right? Because at light hazard, this is the most remote areas, but the extra hazard areas we have higher discharge density. For the light hazard, we have 0.10 GPM per square feet. For extra, it might be 0.35 or maybe higher than that, right? So this area need more water compared to the light hazard occupancies. If it need more waters at high, right? So this in such condition where we have to do the multiple hydraulic calculations. We have to look for the most remote areas. We have to look for the most demanding areas, and we have to submit the plan accordingly for the fire protection approvals. If we have multiple occupancies like this, we have to go in such a way.
So, Mr. Rabi, you said that the design area should be in the most remote area from the pub, but still not is not necessary that it is the most demanding area.
Yeah, in some cases.
Yes, because sometimes we have extra hazard and ordinary hazard.
Yes.
Yes. After that, which one we should submit it? We
have
see that.
we have to submit the we have to perform the different calculation. One for the light hazard areas because it is the most remote to support the pressure requirement at this one, and we have to do hydraulic calculation for the extra hazard areas, and we have to do the hydraulic calculation for the ordinary hazard area, and then we have to submit the plan to the consultant so that he will see how we are getting the pressure and flow in all the buildings, right? Suppose you design your fire protection system for the light hazard areas, right, and it is protecting this one, but it is not necessary that it will protect the extra hazard area, right? So we need multiple set of the calculations to support the our analysis, right? And we have to do multiple hydraulic calculation and to submit to our fire protection consultant.
And usually we take the most higher one, or the biggest one.
Yeah, the most biggest one. This is the special cases, you know. So in those area we have to go something like this.
Mhm.
Okay, now moving on to okay, we are at this hydraulic remote areas, and then we have a density area method, right? So now we are going with the density area method only. Now we have something called the fire rectangular areas. You know, the fire rectangular area is very much important in the density area design. We have to be careful regarding that, you know, to achieve the correct design criteria. You know, normally when there is a fire, as per the research, as per the research by the various lab and the NFPA, they said the fire will normally the fire used to travel into the rectangular shape like this. You know, it will try to go along the branch of the line. It will not be. It will not go in a circular shape or a square. So those research says the fire will travel only in most of the time in the rectangular area. So we have to consider our design area in a rectangular, right? Our design area should be in a rectangular shape. So suppose this is our design areas. It should be in the rectangular areas, you know. Now we have to consider a rectangle, and at the same time we have to make sure that what should be the length of the rectangle, right? So we know that one, the bigger one is the length, right? This one we have, and the smaller one we have a width, right? So length should be, how to calculate the length of the rectangle. So we have a formula for this one, right? The length of the rectangle should be 1.2 times of the design area. Let's say, for example, for light hazard occupancies, we have 1500 square feet, right? So if you are using this formula, just put the 1500 square feet into this value, how much we are getting? Let me take the calculator. It must be around something around 40 or 43 meters. Yeah.
This 40 meter that each sprinkler could cover in rectangular shape.
I will go. I will go that one. I just want that 1500 is a square root of the 1500 square feet, which is for the light hazard, which is 38 meters multiplied by 1.2 times. So if it is for the light hazard occupancies, right? So the length should be around 1.2 times of the length should be 1.2 times of the design area. So I calculated that one. It is around sorry, square root of 1500 into 1.2 is something like 46 meters. So the length should be 46 meter, right? The branch line length into the design area should be 46 meter. What is that? And based on that 46 meter, we have to put a sprinkler in the design areas, right? So let's say it is starting from a wall. Put the from wall. Let me go to the whiteboard to discuss this one in detail. I think here we are facing some issues in that. We have two formulas. I'll go to the I'll go to this the whiteboard after the calculation of this one, right? And this one is talking about how to, once we determine the length of the branch line, we have to go for the how much sprinklers we need into the branch line, right? So those divided by S, we'll get number of sprinklers in that. And now let's go to the blackboard so we can see how it works. We have a blackboard, right? NFPA said the design area shall be rectangular one, right? So in this example also we'll calculate what is the minimum number of sprinklers required for this design area, right? Let's make some assumption. It is a light hazard occupancies, light hazard. So we have 1500 square feet, 1500 square feet of the areas, right? And they said that the hydraulic design area is a rectangular one, and right, and the length of the rectangular will be equal to the formula we use, right? 1.2 times 1.2 to the power of 1500, right? 1.2 into, let's say, 1500. Yeah, 46.47. So the length of the branch line will be 46 meters, 46.47 meters. So this is our branch, the first branch line, right? Keep in mind, this is in the remote areas. This is the first branch line. So now the length is 46.47 meters. Now divide by number of sprinklers. So how much this sprinkler we need, right? So you put the first sprinkler at this location and then make a spacing of around 3.5 meters or whatever you want to make below 4.6 meters. And then you calculate how much sprinkler we need in one branch line, right? Because we want to ensure that this is the most remote branch line and this is the last one where we need the high pressures and high flow, right? So in case of the fire, if we achieve everything at this location, all this line will be comes under our fire protection design requirement, because this sprinkler will activate this one, cover this area, right? To this side and this side, to this side and this side and this side, to this one. Yeah, David C 13.27. Okay, thank you. So what NFPA want to say that when there is a fire going the rectangular way, so much chance is that the fire will go into this area and all the sprinkler in the first branch line will activate. If the fire goes further down, right, so it will break the second line into those areas and it will break the third line into that areas, right? So it based on the length of the branch line and divided by the maximum spacing between two sprinklers, and we'll calculate how much sprinkler we need in the must hydraulically designed area, which is a rectangular. So to come to the number of sprinklers, right, once you've calculated how much sprinklers we need for your fire protection system, right, suppose you got a value of around after the calculation, you got a value of around 11.05, right? Even those value also coming, the number of sprinkler is 11.05. We have to use the next one, which is 12 number. So we need in this area 12 number of sprinklers, the design area and all. This is how we have to calculate the number of sprinkler in a design area, right? So, and another way to calculate the roughly one, right? If the area is 1500 square feet, what is the protection by one sprinkler, right? Let's say it's around one sprinkler is protecting around 8 square feet. Just calculate that. Divided. Sorry, 1500 square feet divided by a number of maximum sprinklers. Based on that, we will come to some values and we will place our sprinklers.
So, Mr. Rabi, we have two ways to know how many sprinklers we need in the design area.
Yeah, first one is the
First one,
carry on.
Yes, first one, we use the formula 1.2 square root, and we use the design area. This is to calculate the length. And after that, we divided by S, which is the spacing between each sprinkler, which we should be less than 4.6, maybe 3.5 or whatever. Yes.
3.7. Yeah.
Yes. After that, we have the how we can continue in this first method to know the number of sprinklers.
Second line, put that line something like 3 meter or 3.5 meters from that one up to the last one, right? We might need three line or 4 line, not more than that, into the design area, 3 or 4 lines. And similarly, we have to place a sprinkler on those lines. Maybe in one line we need 4 plus 4 plus 4, maximum 12 is more than enough. This is the one way we are going along the lines. And roughly we can also calculate the total number in a square feet, right? I'm going into a square meter, that 139 square meter is the number of 139 square meter is maximum area, minimum area for the light hazard occupancies. If you are protecting this area with a spray sprinkler, pendant and upright, which is listed for 8 square meter per sprinklers, in that case, how much sprinkler we need, we have to divide that one by the maximum area in square meters, and we can come to some values, But again, this is a rough estimate. Maybe sometime your design area is not the exact rectangular shape. Multiple shape can be possible in some areas. Maybe it is like that and it is not continuous. Maybe something like this one. So maybe we need one sprinkler at these locations, right? And maybe one we need at this location because there is a wall in your hydraulically remote area. Because we are calculating remote area on the piping and all. It is not based on the wall and all, right? So write me a wall and we need one at this location, one at this location. So in that case, maybe we can increase the number of sprinklers more than required. At this area, we have to go with this method, right? The line method, and go along with that one. And this is the best way to calculate the number of sprinkler in the fire area.
The best way, huh? So it is best. It's better than we just divide the design area over the coverage per sprinkler, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Because in this method, if your open is a space without any obstruction or any partition, that is the rough estimate we can do at the beginning of the project, that we need something like that. If you are estimating the plan of your fire protection system, at that moment we can say, okay, how much sprinkler we need? 1500 square feet divided by one sprinkler maximum coverage area. We got something like this one. But when you are doing actual, better to go with the line method. Okay, moving on to the slide again. We have one small calculation for that one.
Yes, we need an example to understand it 100%, because this is maybe the first basics of design.
Yes, I can understand that one. Now we come to some design density area example, right? Let's say one sprinkler system has been installed with standard spray sprinklers, space 10 feet by 11 feet, right? So it is installed in a 10 feet in between the sprinklers and 11 feet in between the branch lines, right? And it is ordinary hazard 2 occupancies with a discharge rate of 0.2 GPM per square feet. What is the minimum required flow from a sprinkler, right? So the coverage area of one sprinkler is around 10 feet into 11.5 feet. So one sprinkler will cover 1.15 square feet, right? We are going for density area method. So one sprinkler can cover around 115 square feet, and the density is 0.2 GPM per square feet, right? So 0.2 GPM per square feet multiplied by 115 square feet, we need 23 GPM from one sprinkler, right? So we need this much flow from one sprinkler to get 0.2 GPM. So now if we can recall the K factors, right? The K factor method and all. The minimum pressure we need 7 psi for this kind of the installation to give a 15 GPM from 5.6 K factor. So if we need 23 GPM, so at this location the pressure must be higher than 7 psi, maybe 10 psi or 14 psi to achieve 23 GPM, right? This is the one criteria. We divided protection for each sprinklers, and the flow from one sprinklers, and then we come to calculate the number of sprinklers. So divide the density areas, the minimum protection area by one sprinkler protection. We have 13.04 sprinklers, and we can go to the next one. We can round up the figure to the next one, which is 14 sprinklers. This is how we have to go for the selection of the sprinklers. I think this up to here is clear for you, right?
Yes, until now it's clear.
Okay. So for our calculation, right, we discussed we need 14 sprinkler, right? And we have to start from the most remote location, right? This is the remotest location sprinkler, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into this line and 5 into this line. We have 10, and here we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. We need only 14. So the next one, it may be out of our design area. It is not in our design areas. If you can see the red circle, it is covering exactly the area of 1500 square feet. Okay, exactly the area of 1500 square feet. But since this is a rectangular, right, we don't have to care about the sprinkler, which is the 15th one in the third line. We can exclude that one from our design area, because we are only caring about 1500 square feet for light hazard occupancies, and we want to ensure that, we want to ensure that mainly the water reaches at the remotest area first, and then this one, and then this one. If this line is filled with the areas, all those sprinkler system will activate, right? Because we are getting connection from here. This is our riser, and this is the most remote areas. This is how we have to select the hydraulically must design area. You got the point. But one thing I want to emphasize here, the one I discussed in the blackboard, I think that is not required. It is more than those. As I said, that we need to go by line by line. Even if you are going line by line, we need only around 14 sprinklers into that one, until we have any partition, any partition into the wall. Sometimes there is a partition like that. So maybe after the wall we have to put one sprinkler in that side and that side. We might go higher number of sprinklers. But your area is the open one, and we don't have any problem with the obstruction. We can go with this design. Clear?
Clear for me.
Okay. So now moving on to the room design method, right? So it is not so important to discuss room design method. In the room design method, we just have to put the sprinkler into the room, right? This is one room, and so this is one room, and just wait a moment. This is the one room. This is another room, right? And this is maybe in another room. In room design method, we have to just calculate the flow requirement for one room, the largest room, right? So keep in mind, if this room, right, this is the largest room, we have to supply water to only this room only. If water reaches to this room, all the room will be protected by a sprinkler system. And
so Mr. here we don't care about the remote point or the farthest point from in the system. We just calculate room by room, right?
The design method. Normally, it is applicable for the places and which doesn't require more than 4 or 5. If you need more than 4 or 5 sprinklers, the room design method, better to go with the previously method.
Mr. Rabi, I'm sorry, but I can't hear you. Your voice just gone.
Yeah, me too. Your voice is not clear, Mr. Rabi.
Just wait a moment. Okay, now you guys can hear my voice properly.
Yeah, now it's clear.
Yeah, okay. Sometimes there is problem with the network. So now the question is comes, room design method, where to use the room design method, right? As I said, it is used for only the area where we have everything is like a room connection, and we have to give the maximum demand areas into our calculations. Normally, if there are more than 5 sprinklers required, we don't have to go with the room design method. It doesn't make sense. Better to go with directly with the density area methods. So if the number of sprinkler is more than 5, then better to go with the density area method. This is what NFPA says about the room design area methods.
So if we have less than 5 sprinkler, we go to the room method.
Yeah, room method. If less than 5 sprinklers in the most demanding room.
So
Most demanding room.
is this related to compartmentation in
Yeah, exactly.
O01?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is related to O01. It is related to the compartmentation. How it works, Suppose we have a room. Let's go to the previous slide. Suppose this is one room, and this is another room, right? So the duration of the water supply. Suppose if it is the duration of water supply is for the 1 hour. The fire rating should be also for 1 hour between the wall, the opening and all, so that the heat cannot travel from one area to other area within 1 hour. Otherwise, the system will be failed, because the system designed only for fire sprinklers and for the greatest demand room. And in case of the fire, the fire goes out of control and it goes to the nearby rooms. Now it is activating more than 5 sprinklers, maybe 10 sprinklers, maybe 8 or 9 sprinklers. At that time, room design sprinkler system will fail. So we need a passive fire protection system also, at least equal to the duration of the fire water supply, and it should be as per NFPA 101, the fire resistant alone.
The design area is more common than this method, huh?
Which one?
The first method, design area
This is
method.
this you cannot find CS in my career of around 10 years into this industry. I never found this. So this is not common. This is not common one. The most one is the hydraulic calculation. So I am not emphasizing more on this one. It's not the common one compared to that. Okay, moving on to the next one, right? System protection area limitation. I think we discussed in the beginning, the one, right? We discussed in the beginning the maximum number of area and all, right? And now here you want one requirement we have. If we have a multi-story buildings, right, exceeding 2 story in height, it shall be provided with a floor control valve, or you can say zone control valve as per NFPA 8241. Normally the problem is that if your building is multi-story, maybe 3 floor or 5 floor, and if there is a fire in the sprinkler system and the flow detector detect the fire, right? Now we don't know at which location, at which floor there is a fire, because the flow detector, if you are only installing at the riser, it will not give the exact location of the fire. So we need a zone control valve for purpose of this one also, and for the purpose of the isolation or maintenance. Let's say this is a multi-story building, right? So if you want to do the maintenance also, right, we can just I will go to the blackboard to explain it in more easy way. So it's a multi-story building, right, and it is more than 2 story in the height. So this is the one floor, and this is the second floor, and this is the third floor, right? And this is our riser going all the way to the top of the building. After 2 floor, at least we need to give one zone control valve. We have to give the zone control valve for this one, so that if there is a fire, the zone control valve normally comes with a gate valve, right, with a butterfly valve for the isolation purpose, with a pressure gauge, and with flow sensing like water flow devices. So when there is a fire and water has started flowing in this line, it will detect the flow in there, and it will give a signal to fire alarm panel that there is a fire, and they will find the exact location of that one. This is the first one. The second one, after the fire, they want to maintain the system, right? So this area got the water, right? They want to put in the surface. They will close from this line. They will discharge the water, and they will put to the maintenance for the maintenance of the surface problem. Or if this area there might be some leakage, you cannot isolate the complete building in any time. So you just close the valve for this line, and you just do the maintenance. This is how a zone control valve required into the multi-story building. You have to include in the design if your building height is more than 2 stories, to avoid those kind of the problem for the maintenance issue or for the identification of the fire. And identification can be done by the smoke detector also, but I'm talking in some location where there is no smoke detector installed, so it will be working as a dual purpose for those areas. So we have the 3 calculation method, right? We have the density area method, the room design area, which is not common, and the specific method, which is for the extended coverage area, and the CFSA and ESFR sphincters.
Hello, Mr. Rabi.